Hello everyone, welcome back to Eastwick Cottage Garden. It is the end of November, so I wanted to come on here and get things documented for the end of November so that you guys could see what was going on in the garden. And we are expecting to get a frost in about a week. So I wanted to actually make sure that I got things videoed prior to the frost because that's going to break everything down. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to go on and do our end of November garden tour for 2024. So we're going to get started in here in the immersive garden bed. We still have some things blooming. We have some things blooming again for the fall. So it's kind of a neat time. So as we start in, this is the herb row and we have our phenomenal lavender looking lovely as ever. And as we're coming down through the garden space, you can see that we have a few blooms on the dianthus, and we have a bloom starting here on this dianthus. This is the key lime pie. So they have been blooming periodically throughout the season, which is kind of nice to have. Everything else is kind of, you know, towards its end of its cycle. We have the seed heads that I'm leaving on the Rudbeckia or the Black-Eyed Susans just for the birds. I've seen some birds on some of the echinacea back here. So they will have something to munch on in the winter. And coming around here, we have our pansies that we planted. And we actually got almost an inch and a half of rain from last week into this week, which is lovely. And it was a nice soaking rain. So the ground is got a good saturation and it needed it very, very badly. And you can see that our pansies have perked up a bit in the rain, which is nice. So they will last through the winter and we'll have them again early in the spring. We still have a few remaining blooms on the knockout roses, just a couple. And I just wanted to give you an update on our phenomenal lavender that we planted here last year, or this year. It is taking off quite a bit. I've actually taken some cuttings off of it for arrangements. The Abelia, Kaleidoscope Abelia is doing well. I intend to do some flower cuttings to do some arrangements for the holiday season. So we have, you can see that still have a lot of color on here. A few blooms, but a lot of color. This is our container that we planted up using the Proven Winners Aquapots insert to make it a self-watering container. And it has done really well. It's looking great. And can't wait to see what it does later on in the season into next year. And we have our little lime hydrangeas here that have dried up. And I'm going to leave these for winter interest. I think they're lovely. I'm probably going to take some cuttings and maybe put them in arrangements. But they look really pretty. And I think here, actually, oh, yes. Here, it looks like we have another praying mantis egg sac. So that's great. I know we had a lot of them in this garden space. And as you can see, now I don't know, kind of a little concerned here about my whipcord arborvitae. Hopefully it rallies back. It's looking a little brown, but hopefully it rallies back and greens out again because I really like the shape of that. So that is pretty much all that's happening here in this garden bed. We have the leaf growth on the penstemon that's going to last through the winter. That's evergreen. It's going to last through the winter. So that will give us some color. So this is what's happening in the immersive bed garden space. We will be doing a little bit of cleanup, not a whole lot. I like to leave things for the pollinators to have refuge in, so might do a little tidying up, but not very much in here until later on. So in this space, this is the street side portion of the outside in the immersive garden space. And of course we have our juniper, which is doing very well, has done amazingly well this year, filled out, grown tall, looking wonderful. We have our paprika heuchera, which will provide year-round color, as well as we have some green on the hellebores and some red leaves here on the columbine. This is Tequila Sunrise columbine back here. So this bed is filling in nicely, and we have our, I think, fire alarm heuchera here that we planted this year, which is doing well. I will move around some of the leaves around that so it can get some more light, but otherwise it's doing really well. We have our zebra grass, which is turning brown, but is looking wonderful. So this will add some definite interest throughout the winter with the fronds and its height and movement. So as we come around here, we have added to this long border here, and it is starting to fill in. As we planted a whole bunch of bulbs in this border here and added some shrubs, foundation shrubs. I also ordered 3 rose bushes. I ordered 2 more of the Live and Easy rose, and I ordered 1 rose called Albert, I believe, which is shorter, but it has the same kind of coloring as the Live and Easy, mixed with yellow and orange. So I'll be really excited to see how this fills in. The rose bushes are supposed to come on Wednesday, which is before the frost, so I'd love to get them in the ground so they can get a chance to settle. And my lovely mother is actually here for the weekend, and we were able to tackle some of this forsythia. It's looking a lot better. I still have a lot more work to do on it to thin it out. It's going to probably look very scarce this winter. So you can see we have some piles of twigs here that we will be putting out for the trash. In my area, you can do bundles that are 4 feet long, and the trash people will take them. So coming around here, we are in the front garden bed. This is the border that we added to a lot this year. We expanded upon it quite a bit. It was really tiny to begin with. And you can see it is very full. The mums are starting to die back, but they still have quite a bit of color on them, and I'm enjoying them a lot. And these zinnias, I can't say enough about these zinnias. The colors are absolutely fantastic. So here, I'm just going to point this out here. This is the Live and Easy rose. It's kind of blending in with the, but this is the Live and Easy rose. I have 1 more bud on there to open up. Hopefully it makes it before the frost. And so I have 2 more of those that are going in the long border. And so this orange that you see here is actually my Sunjoy Gold Pillar barberry. And in the winter, in the fall, it turns these beautiful, beautiful shades of orange and red. And it is a delight. Very colorful. My mom absolutely loves them. And we have our herbs that we planted here that are doing amazing well. This is the barbecue rosemary, purple sage, and lemon thyme to add a sensory aspect to this little cottage border here. So this is where we have for the front border, and we planted a bunch of bulbs in here. In the past, the last video, you can see I was adding a bunch of bulbs in here, and you can see that I also put the bamboo stakes in to designate around the annuals where the bulbs have been planted. Also here, you see the kind of like a dirt mark here. Jeff came in, and there were bulbs all along this line that I planted last year, but I want to create a pathway here. It's kind of started. This was like the test path. So I wanted to do a pathway here, and these bulbs were at the end of the pathway. I know I have to Jeff's going to come and work on the cement and help that seal that crack right there. And in the front here, our pansies and pansies are still doing great in their pots, adding a little cheer. So coming around here, we have our bunch of heuchera. So we have intertwined Delta Dawn, which is the greener one, and the paprika, and they have been blooming and adding a little bit of color in the front here. Again, these will be evergreenish. They'll change in color throughout the season, but they will remain visible, which is nice to have. And in this border, not a whole lot is happening. We planted some bulbs in here. I do need to finish doing some cleanup here. And we still have a couple of blooms on this Veronica. This is White Wands Veronica. You can see it's still blooming, which is nice to have. And we just need to clean up. These are the daylilies. We still have color on this. This is Candy Delightful Candy. I think it's I'll put the name on if it isn't. Echinacea. And everything else is kind of winding down, mellowing out. I think I did lose this GM. It's a totally tangerine GM, but I think it's gone. I have 3 more in here, so I'm going to have to get another one to replace it because it should look like this. Healthy and bountiful, but it does not. So I think it is lost. So we will replace that. But in the spring, we should have a bunch of white and blue coloring in this garden bed with the muscari and the daffodils that we planted and the snowdrops. So coming back here, this is the grape orchard bed. We planted a bunch of bulbs in here in the last video to add some white and yellow to the space. Things are fading out. This is red twig dogwood, and it's putting on its fall color. And you can see the red twigs will be beautiful in winter as a nice pop of color in this otherwise pretty empty bed. We still have some dianthus here, a couple of blooms on that, but everything else is kind of fading out. Oh, I didn't want to point this out down here. We still have some blooms on, this is a popcorn drift rose, and we still have some blooms on that here. And we also have some blooms on this one here, just a few. And I think there's one bud that's going to come up. Oh yes, right here. You can see down here, there's one bud still coming up. So hopefully that makes it before the frost. So we're going to see here, this is the rain gauge that my wonderful friend Melissa gave me. You can see how much rain we got over the past week or so, which is very welcome and very necessary. So again, back here we have more of the gold pillar barberry putting on their fall coloring, which is very electric red, orange. And we have a few, one remaining bloom on our Midnight Model Salvia. So this is the grape orchard border at the end of November. And I do want to come over here and just point out that our Canadese grapevine is doing well, and I'm looking forward to what it's going to do next year in providing fruit. Because the little teeny white grapes that we had this year were delicious. Okay, so coming back in this area here, we have strawberries that we've covered up to keep the deer out and the squirrels. Coming back here, we have some color on a wild berry bush that we are training up here. And I'm just going to show you the growth so far on, this rose is called the Pilgrim. And it's a climbing rose, and it is doing really well along the fence here. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it does next year. In this area, we planted some bulbs here as well. And we have our Party Lights osmanthus, which has grown quite a bit. It will eventually fill up this corner. And we still have a bloom left on, this is the cherry brandy rudbeckia. Still have a bloom left here. And things are doing well in this area. The honeysuckle here is actually still blooming, which is nice because it adds a nice little scent every now and again when you're in the garden space. So I just want to come over here while we're in the orchard area that we planted some bulbs, fritillary around Lazarus here. And for those who are new, the reason why I refer to, this is a fig tree given to me by my friend Dodie. It was a tiny little piece and he's now growing, but it looks like he died. It's like he died several times, so I named him Lazarus. So that is his official moniker. Okay, coming back here, we have the goji berry plant, which I need to come out and do another harvest before the frost. But you can see it's laden with goji berries. I did pull some and started drying them, and they are doing well in the house. But you can see there's goji berries everywhere. I won't pull them all because I want to save some for the birds, but I do want to harvest them and have them for drying. And yes, it is very powdery mildewy. I recognize that. And it does this every year, but this year is extra bad. It's been very dry. So coming into the woodland garden area, we have some ferns that are still active. We have the leaves on the hellebores. We have some heuchera and heucherella that are coming in. I'm going to trim back some of the ivy and such so that they have a chance to thrive. We have our carex in the back corner here, doing well. And we have our viburnum, sweet talker viburnum, that has been hanging in there and putting on some growth. So hopefully eventually it'll be 8 feet tall, fill in this area, and be evergreen to provide some privacy. So here in this area, we planted some more of the snake's head fritillaria to fill in this space in the woodland garden under the ornamental cherry tree. And our compost bin that we installed earlier is doing really well. Thanks, Dodie, for that. So in this area, we planted wintergreen, which is not doing well. I think it didn't do well at all. So what I think I'm going to do is just make this bed fully a hellebore bed, because they seem to be doing really well. It is evergreen, so we'll have leaf color back here all year, and then we'll have early spring color for the flowers. Riley's hanging out with me, and he says, "Hello, Maggie. Looking forward to seeing you." So here, and this is the front part of the immersive garden bed. It's the side that faces the deck. We have some hellebores in here, and we have, I can't remember the name of it, I'll put it on the screen. But they add a lovely color throughout the winter. And we have our gigantic dianthus, which is the Bath's Pink dianthus, which is huge. And we have here Viberus or candy tuft. And as you can see, they are blooming for the fall, which is kind of nice, a little spark of white in the flower bed. This one here is going for it. It's quite a bit of blooming happening on this side. So coming over here, these are the deck steps beds. And things are fading out. Things are hanging on. So interested to see what the winter's like. This got planted up really last year. So interested to see what the winter holds. We have our pansies in the front here. The squirrels got to this one here, but it's hanging in there. And we still have a little bit of color. It's a little bit on the lantana. I know after the frost, this is going to be gone, but it's a little bit of color. So it's kind of nice. And we have a couple of new blooms actually on the Peter Cottontail yarrow. So we'll see what we get with that. But these are the deck steps beds, which will be closing down a little bit in a little bit. We did add a couple of bulbs in here as well, so we'll get some spring color in this area. But this is it. We have one bloom here coming out on this echinacea, so I'll see what happens with that. See if the frost takes it out. We still have a couple of blooms left on, this is Cat's Pajamas Nepeta, and this is Azure Rush Geranium, and we still have some blooms on there. These are the pansies that are on this side. This is the gardenia. I had one on the other side too. This is Diamond Spire Gardenia, which is evergreen. They did well last year. I planted them kind of in February time, maybe late fall, and they did well. So we'll see what they do over the winter this year. And this guy down here, I can't zoom in, there you go. It broke off, and I put it in the ground to see if it would root, and it looks like it's doing something. So we'll see what we get. We might get a free plant. Free plants are the best. Okay, so that is a wrap of the end of November 2024 garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your families are well. I hope that you guys have a blessed Thanksgiving and safe travels for those who are traveling. For those who are new, welcome to the channel. My name is Tracy and I garden in 7B, Southeast Pennsylvania. And these are my garden chronicles. Welcome to the channel. And thank you guys for all of your likes and your watches and your shares and comments. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.